Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives on how to approach a career in the field from different artists, producers, engineers, and other great minds who share their stories on not only what's made them succeed, but also what has shaped them into the people that they are today. I hope you gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you in your endeavors on your own journey towards success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 171 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today we had a guest who I got in touch with a few months ago. She works in PR. Her name is Keetria Garner-Chambers. She's out of the Houston area. Keetria has over 8 years of experience doing PR for different artists, musicians, all kinds of different people from around the world. She talked about, coming up, trying to get internships with different companies, trying to do writing and all kinds of different things, and, kind of what led her to where she is now, kind of just doing her own thing, using social media to connect with a lot of people. She talked about the differences she's seen and really just the growth of how artists are able to create their own brands and really just, thrive and have different income streams through the social platforms and the relationships that they're building through them as well. And really just the opportunities that Keetria has extended to me personally, I'm very appreciative of. And, I think that what she's doing for independent artists especially is super vital, just lending her resources and her expertise. And I hope you guys learn a lot from this one. I think she has a lot to give information wise, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with her and see what we can build, just putting our minds together. So without further ado, let's get into this one. All right, so welcome everyone to episode 171 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today's guest is someone I've been in touch with now for 2 or 3 months, I think, and I'm so happy that she, got in contact with me. She does a lot of awesome work, PR work, working with different artists from all over the world. She's helped me out a lot as well. So I want everyone to welcome Keetria Garner-Chambers to the show. How are you, Keetria?
Hey, what's up, Anthony? I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking, and also thank you for having me for a guest.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was on your show not too long ago, Style of Business podcast as well. So this is kind of like the second time we've been able to do this. But for those that might not know you and what you do, give a brief introduction of yourself. How long have you been active? All those sorts of things. For the people that might not be acclimated with you.
All right, yeah, let's go with the good stuff. All right, so. Actually the host of, like Anthony said, SOB Style of Business, the podcast. I don't know, I think we maybe 8 years in, something like that, something crazy. Just kicking off the 8th season, so I've been enjoying doing that. And then I have spent a bulk of my career in the public relations and entertainment and marketing space. Just kind of working with different entertainers, personalities, brands, and doing a lot of PR and event management, event planning work. So it's been going pretty good. But yeah, that's a big bulk of my experience. It started and stems from working within the entertainment industry.
Yeah. And where are you from, by the way? You're in the Houston area, I believe. Is that correct? Houston?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm currently in Houston. I am from Texas. I'm specifically from Bryan, Texas. So it's a Central Texas area.
Nice. And how did you get started in PR? Like, what kind of led you to that? Was it early on? Like, did you have an interest in like journalism and things like that? Or kind of give me, the background as to how you got involved in this world to begin with?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I definitely, the start, you pretty much nailed it, was me initially being interested in like journalism, photojournalism, a little bit of broadcast. That was actually like my minor in college. And so I initially started doing the writings, interviewing independent artists, local artists within the Dallas and Houston area. And for some reason, back then it was like more like internships were a little bit more difficult to secure, so to speak, especially when you wanted to work in music and entertainment. So I started going down that route. Nothing came up in terms of like a solid internship. You had, publications out then like Source and Vibe and, like all of the solid hip hop and music publications that anybody would love to have been an intern for. Of course, that didn't pan out. So ended up kind of connecting with just a networking group online and just ran across an opportunity to write for an online magazine. Started doing that, and that just kind of opened up the doors for me to do like event bookings and being able to work with different artists. And then from there, it further got into like the PR and stuff. But it initially started with just kind of interviewing independent artists and, you know, people that I connected with online.
And what do you think was, when you were starting out, what do you think was the biggest challenge that you faced or had to overcome to kind of get to that next step to be able to do those things? Was it the fact that, you know, you couldn't get those internships, you couldn't get your foot in the door there, so you had to kind of pivot, or was it something else, you think?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a combination of just not being able to get your foot in the door. Because, you know, at that point, especially when you're a senior in college and you are looking forward to that next step because you get ready to graduate, you're getting a job. So a lot of times the thinking process is what's going to be your next step after you get your degree. Mm-hmm. You know, you going, which route are you taking? For me, it was just the discouragement of it all, you know, not being in those places like New York or LA, having those opportunities. And even the ones that were available, you know, it wasn't a lot to where, you know, they were just handing out internships. There was a lot of competition, and, you know, it just kind of, you just have to wait your turn sometimes. Yeah. So sometimes when you're impatient and you're just kind of willing to try a little bit of everything, you know, if you're not careful, you know, you just kind of miss out. I could have kind of looked into some other things, but I was so set on, you know, interning for that specific publication, you know, and so I did end up managing to land an internship at a recording studio, which I've, you know, worked in that space as well for short periods of time. But the thing for me was like being at a magazine, you know, being able to really grab these stories and highlight these different artists. But yeah, I think the discouragement of it all, and then just trying to figure out what was next.
Yeah, I honestly feel like that. I honestly feel like, you know, no matter what career path you're setting out on to begin with, I think we all have, you know, a vision of like where we want it to go. And then for some reason, it always doesn't go exactly the way you think it's going to go. You know what I mean? And then like the more you go on the steps, you might end up somewhere where you never thought possible, but in like a good way too. So I think it kind of sounds like that was the case for you as well. Was like you had goals in mind or specific things in mind, and just because that didn't work out, you know, it shifted you to where you are now. You know what I mean? So I think that that's something that like a lot of, especially creatives, go through, because there's not like a set way to do it, I guess. And I definitely feel the same, like for my journey too, is that like where I envisioned it like 7 years ago is not where it is now, but it's better. You know what I mean? But it's something I never thought possible. So I think it's kind of the same as well. And, you know, I definitely think a lot of people can relate to that in their own ways. And just kind of like letting the journey happen too, which I think is super vital. So, yeah, and definitely I feel you about that, about having to overcome the disappointment and being discouraged, things like that. And that can still come up, you know, even when you're at a certain level too, I think. So it's just kind of like being able to deal with it better as you move along. So I definitely think that's super vital, and I definitely appreciate you for sharing that as well, you know, in your own way. So that's super awesome. And what do you think has been, I don't want to say the biggest like change, maybe even in the industry, maybe like the biggest shift in the industry since you started out? Because I know that, you know, you said like 8 years, so we were still kind of in the social media era then, but it wasn't like it is now, I don't think. I think it was just like getting started to being what it is now. So what do you think has been the biggest shift from, you know, when it changed from print media all to the internet and to now where everything's on social media? Like, what do you think you observed, and was that ever an issue for you to kind of get through the learning curve of that as well? You know, when working with different companies and artists and trying to get their name out there, is that ever an issue?
You mean within the last 8 years of just the industry as a whole?
Just as a whole, and just what you've observed, and all those sorts of things, and what you've had to deal with firsthand too.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing that I mean, even like I would say pretty much like once social really started getting to a point where people were able to control the narrative of their brands, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like it just kind of swayed more into the favor of these artists, because a lot of them, when you think about it, unless there's somebody that really needs that accountability and that management, a lot of independent artists are pretty much managing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like the deals that they're gonna take, they're getting out from under a lot of these label deals, and really kind of taking control of what they decide to do in terms of their career, and not only for like what their brand is going to look like, but they're also getting into these partnerships that allow them to do the type of tours that they want. You got different beverage companies that are reaching out, and then that's also allowing them to like leverage the creative aspects of themselves that are not specifically within the realms of being an artist, but maybe they're also into acting, or maybe they are into like specific sports, to where they can kind of branch off and to do other things that the label has nothing to do with,
mm-hmm.
or that the music aspect of what they were doing has nothing to do with. And like a handful of years ago, you had it to where a lot of these artists are in exclusive deals, and they have to always run it by somebody to where they're locked in and not being able to branch out and really expand themselves. So that's the biggest thing about the independence of what the social platforms have allowed. They just kind of let you take control of what you're doing with yourself as an artist. And then even beyond that, I mean, it's just a lot more diversity. Like, you're not just kind of locked into this particular fan base. Like, of course, you can, market to people all over the world, mm-hmm. and not just be stuck in a specific territory, regardless of whether you're performing or not, regardless of whether your music is playing on the radio station or not. You can still have that reach and that leverage.
Mm-hmm. Hey, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know how you can become a monthly supporter of the show. So if you click on the show description in your podcast platform, you'll see the words "support this podcast" toward the bottom, and you can follow that link to sign up. You have the options of donating $1, $5, or $10 a month, and that'll be used towards making the show a better experience for you as the listener. That means new and exciting guests, giveaways, and a lot more that we can continue to provide for you. So feel free to click that link and check it out, or visit anchor.fm/provenknowledge/support to contribute today. And for now, let's get back into the episode. So really just finding different ways to connect with more people as well, and just kind of using it to your advantage. I like that too, because I've definitely seen a lot of artists do that, and even talk about it on social media, where they might be in a deal where they're not getting the funds that they thought they were going to get, or maybe they just didn't understand the terms. So now they're trying to do other things to kind of bring income in as well. And a big part of even being, an artist, producer, whatever now, is finding different income streams and figuring out how to make that all work. And like you said, I think it's more accessible now. It's just about, finding ways to build those relationships, and just keep that moving. So that's super awesome. And for you personally, because I know you have social media as well, like you do a lot of cool things with your posts, motivational posts, and a lot of stuff about business and how to grow and do new things. So like, how do you yourself utilize social media to attract clients, to work with new people? Have you been doing a lot of experimentation lately, or it's kind of just all been, the same formula for you the last few years? Like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so right now I'm more in experimental phase. Previously it was just more like, all right, just, put something out there just to be able to have that active, platforms. There's so many, right? Like, I can't, you got TikTok and all of this other stuff that's like the newer things that have come about since, Twitter, Facebook, and IG. So it's just about trying to figure out like which audiences or which platforms you want to, share your content or your message on. Specifically for me, I like to do the inspirational stuff, the motivational stuff. Of course, I'll share like some tips and stuff that I've picked up, or like different resources and things that I feel like would help the audience that I'm speaking to. But yeah, it's just experimenting. Like I don't even right now. I just kind of go with what that I go with the ideas that I have in my head that I think I want to maybe convey or think people might be interested in, and then I put it out there. Try it for a few weeks, see, and if I need to pivot and do something different, I will. But for the most part, it's about just trying to keep that the creative energy going. You got to keep the juice flowing a little bit.
Exactly.
So yes, but Anthony ain't lying. I just I put it out there. If it works, perfect. If it doesn't, I'll eventually figure it out and go back to the drawing board and come back with something new.
Yeah. And that's kind of the beauty of it too, is that, like you said earlier, because everyone can kind of do their own thing and build their own brands through the platforms, it is trial and error. You know what I mean? Like you're just putting stuff up and seeing like what type of reaction it'll get. And it's good when people can give you the feedback too, because I've had that with my own content. Like if I get a lot of good feedback on a certain type of post or something, then I know that I should probably keep doing that. Then the stuff that's not doing so well, maybe I'll shift to something else. So, and you can always do that too, and it's just super nice. And I love that your content, like the way it looks, and you have like a brand kit going on with the colors and everything. Like your stuff looks amazing. It always catches my eye, and I'm like, I know that's her because I've seen the style of her post before. So I think that's super awesome too. That you have it kind of like all your stuff is aesthetically like pleasing, and it all looks kind of like neat and organized. So I definitely think that's super awesome too. Just getting like the brand kit all like together, and it's definitely awesome that you've been utilizing that and just trying things out, because I think that's all you can do. What do you think outside of work, outside of those things, or even just meeting new people, like what else have you been doing? Could be daily activities, hobbies, anything like that to kind of free your mind to help your work, help your passion grow even more, like on the day to day. What do you think you're doing to kind of take a break now and then?
Yeah, I mean, a break for me, I love just being able to be out and about, not necessarily amongst people, so to speak. Although I do enjoy a good social crowd, but it's just more so just kind of being out, walk, just kind of run if I decide to go on a brief run or something like that. I stay in the gym. You got to stay in the gym. You got to be fit. Keep your body moving. So I do enjoy my weekly workouts. But other than that, it's just trying to make sure that I'm not getting in a place of stagnancy and just being demotivated. Sometimes you can get to a place to where you do so much of the same sort of work. I know, like for you, you're in production, so you're constantly, listening to different beats and soundscapes and stuff like that. For me, it's just more like, speaking to people, trying to get ideas for like how to inspire and encourage, and how to present messages when it comes to like trying to share information on PR and marketing specifically. But sometimes that gets stale and old, so you gotta just try to do different things. So with me, like I said, the working out, the being outside. But then also like I'll do stuff like listen to different podcasts, music of course, and then just kind of go to like random spots just to kind of people watch and see what's going on, just to disconnect for a bit. So yeah, just a little simple stuff. Like there's nothing drastic, but yeah.
I mean,
just to get
it's definitely just going out and living life. You know what I mean? And just kind of letting it all come to you, and then using that inspiration to kind of fuel what you're doing as well. And I definitely could speak for, I think anybody that has a job that you're on the computer all day, like you got to get it off the screen for a bit. You know what I mean? Like you got to. Oh man. Because I'll be sitting there, I'm like, my back is killing me, my neck is killing me. I'm like, I got to get out of here. Like I got to go on a walk or do just anything else for a minute, and just kind of, come back later and pick it up, even if you're in like something very important. Like I always find like if it's not time sensitive, I'm just like, I'm going to take a break. Like I need to do that. So yeah, I definitely think that's all vital, and just finding your own ways to, refuel, recharge, and then come back later is super awesome. So last few questions here, and these are ones I ask on every episode. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
advice, it would definitely be to just be a little bit more reserved when it comes to sharing your vision. That would definitely be like the biggest piece of advice. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes when you're excited about what you envision for yourself or for your life, you can share it with people who maybe they do support you, but they can't see at the level that you can see yourself progressing towards. And it can get to a point where maybe they are trying to encourage you, but it's really not encouraging. It's more just not. It's not really the kind of the support that you would think that you would get from a person, whether that be family member, friend, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, just kind of making sure that let me get a little bit further down the line before I kind of unveil where I'm going with this, as opposed to sharing things that are in the infancy phase of where you're trying to get. But yeah, that would definitely be a top piece of advice.
Yeah. I haven't heard that one before, but I like that. I can relate to that for sure. And if we flip that then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in your career, life, pretty much everything?
Oh, you know what? That's it. Oh, wow. So it's, 10 years from now, yeah, I'll just say, hey, we like, you see where you want to go. Like, we see the vision of the next 10 years. But to me, I feel like where I'll be in 10 years is probably going to be a little bit beyond what I can even imagine. So it'll be good, but I can't quite put a finger on it. I'll just have to say, keep watching.
Yeah.
Just keep watching. We're headed in the right direction. And just to kind of stay encouraged. Like, I just want to stay where I'm at. I do my best to stay in my lane, to try to stay focused and mind my business. So I feel like within the next 10 years, it'll definitely be better than what I can see for myself.
Yeah. Just keep it growing and elevating. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Sure.
Super, super awesome. And do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Final words of wisdom, just do you. Like, do you, and just make sure that you're putting yourself first, respectfully speaking, of course, because at the end of the day, you are pretty much all that you have, regardless of anything that has happened in your life. Sometimes we don't feel like the next step is going to get us to where we want to be, and there can be times where you feel like you're not doing enough, but at the end of the day, as long as you can do what you need to do for yourself, that's definitely going to carry you a long way. You can't really depend on people. You have to depend on yourself first, and you got to make sure that you're trusting and believing that you can do whatever you set your mind to.
That's 100%. I feel that all the way. So I love that. And Keetria, that's all I have for you today. Once again, thank you for joining me on short notice this week. This was fun. And thank you again for even, reaching out to me, giving me a lot of opportunities, and I'm just happy that we got in touch to begin with, and we'll definitely do this again soon. Hopefully a part 2 on this, but just keep doing what you're doing. And I appreciate what you're doing for, artists all over the world and all kinds of people, and, just continue the good work, because I think it's awesome. So.
And likewise, you as well, Anthony. I appreciate you being an inspiration as well.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. That was episode 171. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.